Bienvenidos. Welcome, everybody. Did you know that gustar can express romantic interest in Spanish? In the last video, I showed you how to use gustar to refer to things you like, but it can also be used to say, I like you, and the structure is different when talking about people versus things. First thing first, gustar usually means to like, or it's usually translated as to like. When you're talking about things, it usually means they're pleasing. They're pleasing to you or someone else. When you're talking about a person, it means I like you in a romantic way. If you like a person because you think he or she is cool, they're friendly, or whatever the case is, but it's not romantic, we will usually use agradar. Me agrada. Or we would talk about a trait. For example, me gusta su personalidad. I like his personality. If we just say, tú me gustas, I like you, it usually means romantically. So in this structure, we see the subject, tú. It could be a name as well, but in this case, we'll use the personal pronoun. Then we're going to use the indirect object pronoun, me, to me or for me, and then we're going to conjugate the verb gustar to the subject. In this case, gustas. Gustas goes with tú. The personal pronoun tú is not really needed in the sentence, but it's useful to clarify the subject, especially when we're talking about he or she. So for this structure, we're going to use the personal pronouns, and then we're also going to use the indirect object pronouns, and they're both in the screens. I already have video explaining them, and I'll leave you a link on the description to that video. So here they are. We see the personal pronouns, and then we see the indirect object pronouns that are used with those personal pronouns. And then we also need gustar conjugated to the person. Yo gusto. Tú gustas. Usted, él, ella gusta. Nosotros or nosotras gustamos. Vosotros or vosotras gustáis. Ustedes, ellos, ellas gustan. This is different from what I showed in the previous video. When you're talking about things, we use gusta or gustan based on the thing being liked. But when we're talking about people, we're going to use the actual conjugated forms of the verb. So if we want to say I like them, we would usually start with the pronoun. In this case, them refers to ellos. Ellos. Then we need the indirect object pronoun, me, and then we use the conjugated verb, gustan. Ellos me gustan. It is also okay to put the personal pronouns at the end. Me gustan ellos. Me gustan ellos. So instead of the personal pronoun going first, we'll just move it to the end and the structure changes a little bit. Now the tricky part here is when we want to report that somebody else likes someone else, then the structure is different because we have to use the personal a. And I talked a little bit about this in the previous videos, but we'll see some examples here as well. So to say she likes him, it would be a ella. A ella. Then we use the indirect object pronoun, le gusta él. So gusta is conjugated for the personal pronoun él. A ella le gusta él. It's very similar to saying a María le gusta Juan. Maria likes Juan. In English, it's very straightforward. In Spanish, I know it gets complicated, so we'll see some examples. So the structure here becomes the personal a plus a pronoun, then the indirect object pronoun, followed by the conjugated gustar, and then the subject, or the personal pronoun. Let's take a look at some examples. We already saw the example, tú me gustas. I like you. Tú me gustas. We also have, yo te gusto. Yo te gusto. You like me. Here, since we're talking about you liking me, we have to use the indirect object pronoun, te. Él me gusta. Él me gusta. I like him. Ella me gusta. Ella me gusta. I like her. Usted me gusta. Usted me gusta. I like you. Nosotros te gustamos. Nosotros te gustamos. You like us. Vosotros me gustáis. Vosotros me gustáis. I like you all. Ellos or ellas me gustan. Ellos or ellas me gustan. I like them. Ustedes me gustan. Ustedes me gustan. I like you all. So here the verb gustar agrees with the subject, the person being liked. And the indirect object pronoun changes depending on who is doing the liking. So let's take a look at some examples showing when someone else likes someone else using the different pronouns. So if we say, a él le gusto yo, what do you think it means? A él le gusto yo. He likes me. A él le gusto yo. If we say, a ella le gustas tú. A ella le gustas tú. It means she likes you. A ella le gusta él. A ella le gusta él. She likes him. A él le gusta ella. A él le gusta ella. He likes her. A usted le gusta él. A usted le gusta él. You like him. A ellos les gustamos nosotros. A ellos les gustamos nosotros. They like us. A vosotros or vosotras os gusta ella. A vosotros os gusta ella. You all like her. A ellas les gustan ellos. A ellas les gustan ellos. They, feminine, like them, masculine. Or we could say, a ellos les gustan ellas. A ellos les gustan ellas. They, masculine, like them, feminine. A ustedes les gusta él. A ustedes les gusta él. You all like him. So here, the subject, the person being like, determines the conjugation of gustar, just like we saw before. The personal a plus pronoun emphasizes who likes the subject. Sometimes it is optional, but it's helpful, especially when we see él, ella, ellos, ellas. It helps clarify who's doing the liking. And then we see the indirect object pronoun depending on who is doing the liking. And you know, in some of these sentences, the meaning or the feel of it doesn't mean romantically. For example, a ustedes les gusta él. It could be just like in English, you all like him. You all like him as a son-in-law, for example. We could say, a ustedes les gusta él. But just be careful with the verb because most of the time it can mean romantically, especially if you're saying, tú me gustas. It usually means, I like you in a romantic way. I hope this is helpful. I know I mentioned another video with this verb. I'm gonna leave you the link here so that you can watch it and learn more about the different structures using this verb. Muchas gracias.